Alright, Professor, I'm just going to run through this real quick so you can get an idea of what I'm thinking about for orientation. Yeah, orientation remixed. Let's hit it. So, purpose for orientation, kind of the way that I'm looking at it, is really to help get students ready for organizational development by using the skills that we're learning in facilitation and kind of peppering some of the other skills throughout the presentation just so they can get more of a hands-on feel with it and see it in action versus just talking about it. I think this is going to be good. Now, this is difficult for me because I've only done 4 classes, and some of the classes I'm taking in the OD program are business-related classes, so forgive me for not knowing everything, but you'll see a couple of things from facilitation and also a little bit from interventions throughout this presentation. Some of the themes that I have here are facilitation, visual meetings I think will be very good, some of the games from might be great, obviously leadership, and that might be a lot from the presenting team, but because we're going to be doing some team activities here, that could also be important to think about. Team building and networking, since those were also things you wanted to hit on in the assignment details. Now, one thing that I thought was really important was to utilize a different kind of seating. Now, I don't necessarily mind rounds, because when I was in orientation for my master's degree, we did sit at round tables. Actually, they were more square, but it still kind of served this function. So you're going to have in the front, where they're facing, is where you guys are going to be obviously presenting the information, potentially with screens or however you guys do that. But along the sides and back, it will be interesting to have either dry erase boards or easels with markers, so we can have some more interactive activities. And you might even want to have some drawing utensils on the table for some of these games, just to kind of give you an idea with that. So here's the agenda that we were given. Just kind of the things that you wanted to touch on, that you wanted to hit on, and so we'll run through those. So how graduate education is different, what I was thinking is we can have them do kind of a whiteboard relay race, and what you're going to do is you're going to have the people sitting at the table will be a team, and they're going to go one at a time to their whiteboard and put down their expectations as far as, you know, what they're expecting to see in a master's degree. So coming from their bachelor's, coming from their career experience, you know, what are their expectations of how they're going to, or what the differences are going to be between the undergrad and the master's. And that's going to kind of tailor into the presentation. So they've already given their expectations, and then the presentation that you guys are going to do, you know, obviously you're going to have your canned presentation, but you're also going to make sure that you touch upon each one of those ideas or concerns. That way it's very interactive, and also kind of gets the team moving, kind of gets the ideas flowing, and starts the visual part of the presentation. Next section is how to convey the information that graduates need, and I thought a fun way to do this would be to play a game. So you can create games on this software called Kahoot, and it's just kind of a how do I put this? It's a trivia type game. So there are multiple choice answers. So for some of the things like, you know, what to do if you get into academic difficulty, registration, the advising process, how to manage a Blackboard, who to talk to, who to contact, what office to go to, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those can all be multiple. There can be questions that have multiple choice answers. One person at each table is going to have their phone, and they're going to be phoning in the answers. Everyone else, it's kind of like an online scavenger hunt. I mean, you're going to kind of give them the different resources. So it could be the student handbook. It could be, you know, Roosevelt's main site. It could be, you know, what have you. Or you could do that, like you guys can do a presentation on all this stuff, and then have like an interactive game at the end to see who is paying attention. And, you know, they're all different teams. So each table is a team, and one person at the table is going to have the Kahoot screen, and they're going to be inputting all the answers. They work as a team to get the right answers. Oh, and it's also timed. So once the question is asked, there's a timer. So even if you get the right answer, if you're the last team to get it, you get less points. And it's just a really cool way to make the informational part, which is normally terribly boring, a lot more fun and interactive. Either by And I think it would be more fair, I guess, to give the presentation and then to quiz them on it later, but I almost kind of like the idea of making it like an open book thing, but I don't think you have enough time. I think this is only 24 seconds, so it might not be enough time to make it open book. You might need to just do the presentation. And yeah. Next, develop a sense of self-efficacy. So for this, I was thinking the anti-problem is an activity from game storming. Essentially, what you're going to do is turning back to the first activity, different things they expect, but now we're going to be talking about different problems they expect to face. So whether they're distance learning students or whether they're going to be on campus, I'm sure they have jobs. So kind of like what are the problems that they think they're going to face. Now, I'm sure having been through education, I mean, every school has a list of what it takes for adult students to succeed, which is going to address these different issues. But it's nice to have the students themselves bring the issues up. It's going to give you a lot more buy-in. It's going to make the situation a lot more present, more real. At the same time, what you're going to do then is you're going to use the anti-problem, and you're going to have them then solve those problems. So you can use the activity, and you then have the teams think of ideas about how they're going to be able to overcome those different hurdles, so they solve their own problem. And you'll also introduce, if the teams don't come up with them, then you guys will introduce the remaining frequent problems that maybe they didn't come up with, but they'll probably come up with most of them. And then the final one for networking is kind of a speed dating situation. So now what you're going to have is you're going to have the different tables. They're going to kind of mix and match, and you're going to have people essentially meeting with everyone around the room, kind of a round robin, instructors and presenters included. You guys are all going to be involved, and you guys will sit down, as will one group of students, and the other group of students will rotate, and you spend maybe 3 to 5 minutes with each person, just kind of going around the room and meeting and talking, and everyone will have different questions that they want to ask, and you guys will exchange information and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that'll kind of foster a little more community. Getting people connected on LinkedIn is huge, and just having those contacts coming out of orientation. You guys can also then, for everyone who's willing, when they leave, they can take their information and they can put it either into an email or they can text it to a central number, and you guys can put that out as just one big master list of orientation so that everyone has that information. I don't know, however you guys are going to do it. I just have a lot of ideas running in my head right now, but this is kind of a good way to be able to get that whole process started. So that is my idea for orientation in a nutshell. I think that should fit within 3 hours because it's going to be pretty, it's going to be pretty quick. I think the longest activity will be the speed networking. Everything else is pretty straightforward, fairly quick. It involves some whiteboards and relay race, some markers. Yeah, not too difficult. There you go.